Peace and blessings, light and love. This video is being sponsored by the Institute of Pan-African Spirituality, where we honor and recognize that all things are born of Africa, including our spirit bodies. Today, we're talking about the metaphysical causes of diabetes. We already know that Blacks, African Americans, suffer from diabetes and a lot of other diseases at alarming rates, disproportionate rates. And we've attacked this from many different perspectives. And of course, food or diets, exercise, all of those things are important in maintaining our physical bodies. But what we also know to be true is that we have a spirit body. Our metaphysical body also is just as impactful on our health as is what we do physically. And so we're going to just very briefly introduce you to some of the metaphysical causes of diabetes. And you can learn more about this by visiting the Institute of Pan-African Spirituality.com, and it will go more into detail in depth about this information. So first of all, just very quickly, let's review what diabetes is. So when I provide the metaphysical explanation, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So diabetes manifests as a result of the lack of insulin secreted by the pancreas or from its ability to function normally. So it is the job of the pancreas to take the food that we've chewed and break it down into smaller pieces that makes it easier to digest and absorb. So the pancreas makes sure that things are in bite-sized pieces. It's small enough that the body can actually use it. Okay. It's also in charge of when the energy that was created by the food gets released, right? So the pancreas takes the food, it breaks it down, and then it stores it, and then it releases it as insulin to keep our sugar levels high and to monitor our energy levels. Okay? Now, with the mind body connection, before I explain our spirit body, is operates under the scientific fact that our thoughts and our emotions play an enormous role on our health. The way we think, our emotions, all of that will eventually manifest physically. And that is because we have a spirit body. We have a physical body and we have a spirit body. Our spirit bodies mimic our physical bodies. Whatever happens to our spirit bodies will happen to our physical bodies. Whatever happened to our physical bodies will affect our spirit bodies. And so, if you're doing everything right to reverse your diabetes and you still can't seem to reverse it because you're eating right, you're exercising, you've eliminated sugar, you've eliminated carbs, all the stuff they've been telling you to do, and you're still not getting lower numbers, it's probably because you haven't addressed the metaphysical causes of that diabetes and addressed our spirit bodies. So we talked about the pancreas. So let's talk about the metaphysical aspect of diabetes. And the pancreas, which is a gland that is connected to a very specific set of emotions. See, the pancreas, as I mentioned earlier, its job is to break down food so that we can use it. Diabetics very often have a difficult time breaking things down in real life. So you tend to take on too much. So you have this large project and this large project. You have so much to do that none of it's getting done. You haven't been able to break it down. And that usually comes from a control issue. Um, Diabetics tend to expect too much from themselves and from others, and they can't process why it's not happening. They can't break down this large workload or this large relationship load, whatever it is that they're dealing with. And then the domino effect of not being able to break things down manifest feeling sorry or being lonely. Because they have such big demands on themselves and on others, others tend to not to want to deal with diabetics as much. And so they begin to feel sorry for themselves. They begin to wallow in self-pity sometimes. They become very lonely. And then they can't let go. They can't let go of the fact that they weren't able to break something down. They weren't able to complete the task, and they beat themselves up over and over and over again. And so the spirit body is experiencing the same thing as the physical body is. So let's see. After diabetics realize that this is a problem for them, they begin to try to figure out ways to address it. But the problem with that is also an oversized project. And so instead of trying to figure out how to fix it, they are consumed with researching how to figure out how to fix it. Everything is just too big. It's too much. They haven't broken down enough. So, on a metaphysical level, diabetics need to release control. They need to, instead of being focused on the big picture, try to break things down into smaller pieces, which will enable them to get things done. And it will also enable them to see that others are able to get things done. Be less hard on yourself. Stop overly criticizing yourself. And just really focus on bite-sized pieces, breaking things down as small as it possibly can in dealing with that instead of dealing with the larger issue. This is just a very brief explanation. You can learn a lot more about this at the Institute of Pan-African Spirituality. And it's important to note that when African Americans have these emotional bodies that are not dealt with, it becomes even more difficult because we're not getting them out of sunshine that we need. And sunshine plays a very important role in the health of Black people. And because of our experience in the Western Hemisphere, we're just not getting enough of it. So that's a whole nother conversation. Visit the Institute of Pan-African Spirituality today to find out more information about diabetes and the metaphysical connection.